It's time for game night, getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome into game night right here. Sactown Sports, 1140. Scott Marshall along with the high flyer Henry Turner. He'll be with us beginning in the next segment. Kings and Wizards. Game 3 of the 4-game road trip for Sacramento. The Kings 2-0 on this road trip. They just continue to roll. It's amazing what they've been able to do all season long. The second night of the back-to-back in Brooklyn against a team that was 9 games above 500. No problem for the Kings. They get the victory. And by no problem, obviously, it was a hard-fought, well-earned game, but the Kings able to pull it off. And just so impressive what we're seeing here with our Sacramento Kings. Henry and I will be with you until 4:30 today, getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. Tip tonight, 5 o'clock. Interesting start time back on the East Coast. It's an 8 o'clock tip in the nation's capital as the Kings get ready to take on the Wizards. So again, Sacramento with the 101-96 victory against Brooklyn. They got into Manhattan. It was past 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sure, as Henry will say later on, it doesn't matter if you're on a back-to-back. That's part of the NBA. But, you know, they're human beings, too, and that's tough travel. They turn it around quickly against a good Brooklyn team, and they still prevail. Sabonis, another amazing effort for Domas. His fourth 20-plus game of the year. He finished with 24 points and 21 rebounds. He was amazing. And maybe just as impressively, 7 offensive rebounds. 5 assists, 4 blocks. The stat line is ridiculous for Domantas Sabonis. And, of course, he led the way on Thursday in Brooklyn. If there was one negative to come out of Thursday night, but is somewhat of a positive now, it's Kevin Huerter, who, of course, left the game, was originally diagnosed as a hamstring injury, since been updated. It's the muscle behind the knee, still trying to figure out what that is exactly. But the good part about it, he is listed as day-to-day. He is questionable for the game today. We'll get you an update on the status of Kevin Huerter coming up in the Who's on the Floor segment. And, of course, we'll have more information throughout Kings Live pregame leading off up to tip-off. But I don't see how Kevin Huerter is going to play in this one. I would be surprised. So, of course, we'll break down who's going to get the minutes with Huerter unavailable. Obviously, Malik Monk is going to get more playing time. We might see more from Terrence Davis, who, again, hasn't been used as much, only 9 minutes on Thursday in the win on Brooklyn, as we see Kessler Edwards continuing to get more playing time with this Sacramento Kings team. He played, again, half the game on Thursday night, had 10 points. And again, the numbers for Edwards don't really tell the story. Mike Brown has certainly bought in that this guy is going to be a defensive-minded guy, and he is certainly selling it to everybody on board his team. Kessler Edwards has come in. He's made a difference, and he's also reminding everybody that the Kings have to step up on the defensive end. And I think Mike Brown's sending a message to his team as much as anything with Kessler Edwards right now, saying, hey, as we get towards the playoffs, we're still the best offensive team going in the NBA, but we're 25th in the league in defense. And, I'm going to give the playing time to the guys who are going to play defense. And that's what Kessler Edwards has been doing. But again, most likely without Huerter tonight, we'll see if Terrence Davis gets more playing time. All of those good things. But again, for Sacramento, they have secured a winning season for the first time since 05-06. Of course, that corresponds with the last time the Kings were in the playoffs. They also have at least a tying record on the road, 21-13 away from Golden One Center, 21 wins at home, 21 wins on the road. It is all good news for Sacramento Kings fans. If you want to join the program, you can certainly at 1-800-920-1140. We're up and running in our YouTube, our chat room as well. We'll be there during the break. We do have updated status for both Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles. Huerter is out. Trey Lyles will also be out. Shoulder pain for Trey Lyles, so he's not going to go tonight. So it'll be certainly a different rotation off the bench. We'll break that all down. The High Flyer is here. And Henry, as you're driving around this capital city, first, it's great weather. Everybody's happy. The attitude is bright out there. I know you talk about when you're at the grocery store, everybody wants to talk Kings basketball. I'm over at Hagen Oaks pounding some golf balls on the driving range. Kyle Draper's out there with his son, and everybody wants to talk to Drapes about what's going on with this Kings team. I've got my Kings shirt on. Everybody's coming up. Everybody is so happy, so excited about this team. It's amazing what they're doing. I mean, we got to put this in a little bit of perspective. 42 wins, winning season, first time 17 years. Playoffs are coming, 21 road wins. It's really remarkable what this team has been able to do. We need to get Henry set up. There we go, Kyle. You got him now. Okay.
First of all, Scott, it's been a long time coming. So I understand why this fan base, the city, everybody is getting fired up. We haven't had this in such a long time. This city and fan base have definitely been waiting for this. They have been patient. They have rolled out the bad time. So now this team is starting to have some positive outcome and some production out there on the floor. I'm glad the city is behind it. I'm for it myself, Scott. Like I said, I have a lot of people come up to me in the community and, just they want to talk Kings basketball. The main thing is the beam is just went through the roof.
It has brought this community together as much. Obviously it's the Kings play that has allowed it, but this beam has been the rallying cry all season long.
Oh man. I mean, it's just so galvanizing that, I'm driving down the street and I hear people screaming, light the beam, light the beam. And I throw my hand out the door. Hey, but I'm with it, man. I'm with everything that's going on. I'm with the culture change by Mike Brown. I'm into, getting the guys to buy in, everybody that's on the staff, even the organization, how they came up with the beam team and the chain and all this other stuff. Right now, Sacramento Kings basketball is just fun to watch all the way around.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and everybody should be enjoying it because it has been long coming, and it's great to feel Sacramento proud. It's great to feel good about the Kings, and we all have to revel in it. And even when things seem like they could turn for the worse, it feels like even that seems to be going the Kings' way right now, because when Kevin Huerter went down with that injury, we're thinking hammy. We know what hammy injuries mean. We've seen Harden miss months. We've seen Durant miss months. We've seen other players suffer for a long time with that. At least initially, the report on Kevin Huerter, who isn't going to play tonight. It's day to day. It's not necessarily the hammy. It's the muscle behind the knee. And I was trying to figure this out. I don't know if you've ever had an injury quite like that, but I was trying to diagnose exactly what that injury is.
I can't say I have, Scott, and I've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, banged around a lot.
15 years to do that to you. The way he went down just seemed awkward. So I can definitely see him, messing something up in the hamstring area. I actually thought it could have been on the top quad situations because the way his knee bent back all the way back. But, I'm glad to see that it's day to day, not one of those 2 or 3 week type situations.
We'll reevaluate it.
Right. That's what you don't want to hear.
That's the kiss of death when that medical report comes out. So obviously it's encouraging because they would not be saying day to day if that weren't the case, but obviously not going to play tonight. And who knows? And again, the Kings are at the point of the season right now where I think they would do this in any case, but I think especially right now, they know they're in the playoffs. They're just fighting for seeding at the moment, but you're going to be extra, extra cautious because right now, the one thing you don't want to do is mess with anything that could limit you come playoff time.
Yeah, you're going to be very cautious and, understanding that now it's one of those situations to where you're trying to go for the long haul. You understand there is more games to be played after the regular season. So time management and those type of things definitely will kick in for the Sacramento Kings because it's one of those things where you need to be able to utilize that. You and I, we hate time management, but it's there. It's a real thing. And they're going to have to start looking at that as, when you're playing some of these games and how many minutes these guys are putting in.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because it was brought up, recently. In fact, it was an article in the B Today. Chris Biederman, who does a great job covering the Kings, talking about the dreaded words of load management. And the Kings have been a team that really haven't bought into that at all. I mean,
No.
you look at Thursday night, case in point, all the stars are playing. You've got Sabonis with the 2020 plus game, and they've been very resistant to it. And I think they will be, down the stretch. I think they'll maybe watch some minutes per se, but in the case of where you have an injury that could get worse, they're going to go on the other side of that.
I think the Sacramento Kings load management will be more so on just watching minutes, because this is a basketball team to where you're changing the culture. You're trying to get these guys to buy in. You want these guys to give you everything that they have out there on the floor because they haven't solidified anything. To me, I know it's very close, but it's not in hand. The task isn't over. So I think more so you really can't pull the reins on a horse and say,
right.
whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, the finish line is right there. And I'm definitely got that mentality to where I'm running 100% to that finish line. Now, I don't think they're going to be having guys miss games, but I definitely think coming down the stretch, you look at how many minutes players are playing, and you definitely might want to pull some of those back.
No doubt. I think that's probably the case, but we'll see. I mean, this team is not fit any norm this season. So, and to the bigger point, the Kings wouldn't be where they were at if they were practicing load management like the Clippers, like other teams in this league.
That's why they're in the position. That's why they built up the equity, Scott. We talked about this early on. This team needed to do that. They needed to go out and play 100% all the way to the wall so they can get where they need to be right now. And if need be, you have a choice to where you can start pulling back for some of these players. But the mentality of the Sacramento Kings, I think they'll run it all the way out, run through the tape, as Kenny Smith would say.
I think you're right about that, although Kenny gets beat sometimes to that tape. As we see on Thursday nights.
Webb beat him too, but he didn't want to admit it.
we saw Shaq beat him once. We've seen Ernie beat Kenny once.
Hey, Father Time is undefeated, bro.
I hear you, man. I hear you. All right, game night underway. When we come back, we always compare all sorts of players to Wilt. It's about time we compare Sabonis to Wilt because there is a stat that is pretty darn impressive involving Sabonis. There's lots of stats that are impressive with this guy this season, but we'll get into that and a lot more. It's the Kings versus the Wizards. Of course, last time these two teams played, the Wizards took it to the Kings at Golden One Center. We'll talk about the rematch, that and a lot more. Game night is always brought to you by Power Business Technology. Experience how the power of family can help your business office equipment needs today. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or go to powercopiers.com. More of Game Night right here, Sactown Sports 1140.
The only place you'll find DeAaron Fox is Sactown Sports.
Spins away.
There we go. Had to take the commercials out.
All right, we're in the YouTube chat now.
We are live on YouTube right now.
Kyle, how are you, my man?
Oh, I'm doing excellent today.
You see how high flyer, there's some people who just will jump on any bandwagon. So Kyle's a UC Davis graduate, but now he's got the UCLA shirt on, and he's never been to UCLA. He's never rooted for them before, but all of a sudden, because the Bruins are winning, he's got the Bruins shirt on.
Well, I think that's more so for Jason Ross than anything
Okay,
else.
I'll buy that. Now, Jason's a legitimate Bruins fan.
For sure. Legit.
Kyle, not so much.
Mine's
right?
just because my brother goes there. That's
well, that's a good reason, actually. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he bought me the shirt, and I felt like it would be a good day to wear it.
All right.
So he isn't a true bandwagoner. He
That's
is
true.
grandfathered in by the brother.
Absolutely. If your brother buys Henry and me shirts, we'll wear them too.
Okay, I'll let him know that
Please do.
people at the station are eager for his UCLA. He works at the student
but
store.
not
so
if
he
they
gets
lose
it.
today, later on.
If they lose today, that's going to be unfortunate for them.
It would be
Northwestern.
A
That's
blowout,
tough
but
one.
right now Princeton's on top here for Pete's sake.
Oh wait,
Hey,
they are.
Hey, Princeton making some noise.
Exactly.
Okay?
How
They say they for real.
But not to get too far off topic, but March Madness, of course, if there was any predictable first round upset, and I mean, Fairleigh Dickinson, of course, that wasn't predictable. Well, it somewhat was. Purdue has been weak. Okay, but there's no more predictable. Princeton plays every first round team tough. The late, great Pete Carrill beat UCLA, almost beat Georgetown with John Thompson and Patrick Ewing. Arizona loses in every first round. Santa Clara going back to the Lute Olson days. I mean, they have lost a ton of first round games. So that to me was an upset, but it wasn't an upset.
I just want to shout out Simone, who works at the station, who picked Fairleigh Dickinson to beat Purdue on her bracket.
Yeah.
So,
but not because she actually believed it. She just wanted to.
She was just going against the grain.
But I did have Purdue losing today. The problem with my bracket was I had Memphis beating Florida Atlantic, so it doesn't help me at all.
No, I understand. You've already lost the points on that one.
Yes,
so
I have.
It's a tough break. I had Purdue in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys will get into this. The chat's talking a lot about how we replace minutes for Herter and Trey Lyles, and Rashawn Holmes is back after he was out with the I believe it was the non-COVID illness. So it'll be interesting to see how they mix up the lineup, and obviously they're coming sort of back west. They have a long flight from Washington to Utah after this. It'll be interesting to see how they mix rotations.
You want to talk about that long, onerous flight, Henry, and how the players might be tired on the charter coming back home?
Okay. Depending upon how many minutes you play, because we don't know yet.
Sure.
We're trying to foresee what's going to happen. Understanding they're on a chartered plane, you fly very well. Now, if you put in a couple of overtimes and a couple of 40-minute games, you might be a little tired.
Okay.
But we got 10 seconds, so we can pick it up back on
there. All
air.
Right. Good stuff. Welcome back into Game Night right here. Sactown Sports, 1140. Scott Marshall along with the High Flyer Henry Turner. We'll take you until 4:30 today. Getting you ready for the Kings and the Wizards. Kings Live pregame at 4:30. Tip tonight, 5 o'clock. G-Man is always with the call. If you want to call in, you can. 1-800-920-1140. We are chatting during the breaks in our YouTube section at Sactown 1140. You can join us there. And, of course, if you like what you're hearing, you can give us a like too. We appreciate that all the more. Of course, big day for basketball in Sacramento. The second round is going on at Golden One Center. The Princeton Tigers are leading Missouri 29-19, the first of two games. Of course, UCLA versus Northwestern in the second game. But right now, it looks like the Tigers are coming out of Sacramento.
Hey, you know what? They're working hard, man. I mean, and this is the time, Scott, when you want your team to be clicking on all cylinders, especially if you're in the NC2A. You know, it's a one and done situation here, so you have to be playing your best ball around this time.
And of course, I love that Princeton came here. The late great Pete Carrill, who everybody loved with his time as part of the coaching staff with Rick Adelman and his connection with Jeff Petrie from Princeton and all of that. Nobody was the beginning of the big time upset than Princeton with Pete Carrill. We talked about how they beat UCLA in the tournament back in the 90s when they were a one, or not a 1 seed, but a 2 seed. They almost upset Georgetown in their glory days with Patrick Ewing and John Thompson. And so I think it's great that Princeton's getting it done, especially here in Sacramento.
You know, and Pete Carrill's imprint went a long way here in Sacramento. You know, for us who study the game of basketball, we know what Pete did for the Sacramento Kings. But for those who don't know, Pete Carrill was pretty much the orchestrator of that team, to where when you had Jay Will, Chris Webber, Peja, and the heyday of the Sacramento Kings, the offense that they ran was what Princeton ran with Pete Carrill, and he really helped those guys out and helped them more so, Scott, understand the nuances of running that and how it really couldn't be stopped if you ran it right. Kind of like the 360 of the triangle. You know, the triangle was just so much of a powerful offense if you had the mindset and the talent to run it.
Yes.
See, and that was the same thing that Pete Carrill brought here to Sacramento. Once they had the players and the mindset, man, I mean, that shot that team through the roof. People thought that just, you know, manifested. No, that was Pete Carrill's offense.
No doubt. And that's why he was called Yoda, because he was the Zen master here in Sacramento, and nobody wiser than the late, great Pete Carrill. And, you know, Princeton, the reason they're so successful in these tournaments, I mean, running the Princeton offense, the backdoor cuts, it's so hard to plan for. And, you know, these are quick turnarounds in these games, and it's a nightmare matchup for teams that don't see this offense very much.
And Scott, it's fundamentals. So, you know, it doesn't take big time talent to run that offense. But what it does take, it takes a high basketball IQ to run it. So when you have the guys who have the IQ to run it, and then you bring in some guys who are very talented that can run it, now it's unstoppable.
It was the ultimate here in Sacramento. And of course, they don't have to worry about the high IQ at Princeton to run the offense.
No, because the IQ is there.
That's working.
No doubt. The IQ is definitely going to be there. But Scott, the thing about it is that it's a read and react offense. And when you get guys who understand, I either cut or come off the screen or back screen, it starts to become repetition. And a lot of guys don't know how to react because, see, you're going to give up one. On the defensive end, I can't stop you, Scott, even though I'm a much more athletic guy than you. I can't stop you from going left and right. I can only stop you from going one way. So, but if you're equally good at taking the right or the left, well, give me one. I'm going to take it.
No doubt.
All you have to do is read it.
Exactly. And the scissor cut offense was just a thing of beauty here in Sacramento for sure. So in the chat, one of the things that came up, obviously we're not going to have Kevin Huerter tonight. So what will the minutes look like? I got into this a little bit earlier, but TDE has been locked out of minutes. Kessler Edwards got 24 again on Thursday. Mike Brown saying, I want the guys who are going to play defense out there on the floor. Obviously tonight without Huerter, we'll see Monk more. I presume we'll see Kessler Edwards more, and we'll probably see TD more.
Who's going to slide into that starting position?
Yeah, that's my question for you.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it probably won't be Monk. I assume he still comes off the bench, right?
I have no idea because you know what? It's such a big question now because we've seen Mike Brown play with this lineup. And at one particular point, I want to say one of the last games, Harrison Barnes was at 2. And I was like, okay, whoa, wait a minute, what we got here? So seeing that seeing that Huerter is down, he really relies on bringing Monk off the bench. So I don't think he's going to slide Monk into that into that position. But now, Terrence Davis, who you think would really slide into that position? Well, Kessler Edwards has been taking over a lot of his minutes. So do you see Kessler starting at the 2 position?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're going to find out here in just a little bit. It was great to see Kessler Edwards, as we talk about a lot, a guy going back and playing against his former team, playing well.
Coming in, doing work, love to see that. I'm happy for him. The good thing for him is that he's a Mike Brown guy. Now I understand why they went and got him. Because when you see that trade, you're like, well, why did the Kings
is this a move to make another move?
Why did they make a move for this guy?
Exactly.
He's a Mike Brown type guy. He's 6'7", he's long, he's lean, he's athletic, he plays defense. Yeah, Mike Brown is going to make that move, especially if it doesn't cost him a player. Just what was it? Some cash exemption or something like that?
They didn't give up anything.
Right, they didn't give up nothing for him. And so now you're going to bring a defensive-minded guy to put on his roster? Do that.
Unbelievable what Monty McNair's been able to pull off. He has just come up unbelievably well with every move he's made with this team. It has worked to perfection. All right, the stat as we went to the break kind of teased it a little bit. We always compare everybody to Wilt. That's the gold standard. Well, Sabonis has a stat that compares to Wilt. Now, there's one player in league history who has averaged 18 points, 12 rebounds, over 6 assists, and shot 60% from the floor for an entire season. We know who that is. I already gave that away. It's Wilt. Well, Sabonis is on pace to do that now.
And, let's throw it out there like this, Scott. Wilt Chamberlain was a freak in this league.
Yep.
When he played in his day, there was nobody Wilt's size. There was nobody who had Wilt's strength.
Right.
There was nobody that had Wilt's ability. So he was a man among boys.
Yep.
He was Shaquille O'Neal before Shaq came into the league.
Yep.
Well, Sabonis isn't that guy. And for him to be able to get those type of numbers and get it done like that, he's putting in a hell of an effort.
No doubt. No doubt. He's been absolutely amazing. Sabonis and Fox are really trending for both being all NBA players right now. No doubt.
Both should be. Now, I don't know 1, 2, or 3, but both of those guys need to be on one of those lists.
They do. They do absolutely. And I think as the Kings continue to move here, they're going to be. Again, as you look at the Western Conference standings, the Kings are tied with the Grizz, but they have the Western Conference advantage on them. So they're in the 2 seed at 42 and 27. By the way, the Grizz coming back from 29 last night to beat the Spurs. That's the largest comeback of the year. The Lakers had come back from 27. Trying to remember who came back from 28 recently. Was it the Mavs? Might have been. But 29 against the Spurs, and somehow the Grizz pulled it out. So they get the win, important for them. But again, it shows you where the Grizz are still leaking oil right now.
I wouldn't say leaking oil, Scott. Mm-hmm. I would say trying to tread water.
Yeah, okay. That's a better way to put it.
Leaking oil means that at some particular point, the motor's going to go.
Yeah.
I think they're just treading water right now, trying to wait on those guys to come back.
Yeah.
But they're still showing that they can win basketball games. Kind of like us, Scott. Wasn't the prettiest of games, but you're still able to win. Yeah. That shows that you are a good basketball team. You're not playing your best brand, but at the end of the day, you still win.
Yeah, no, getting it done, down double digits in Chicago. It was not a good first half. It was a better second half. Obviously, the Kings, the way they came out Thursday and kind of took advantage and never really lost the lead from the second quarter on, that was impressive. And I know back-to-backs and, we're not going to get into that discussion too much, but I still think it's impressive when you land in a city at 3 a.m. on a second night of a back-to-back and you put out that kind of effort.
Bro, it is. It is. It's very impressive because you have a built-in excuse. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. The back-to-back is the first excuse that you have built in. Number 2, built-in excuse. Well, we didn't get in at 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. You know what? Kings didn't take that route. They said, look, we have another game to play. All right. Never mind the excuses. Let's come out. Let's give our effort. We're going to try to win every last single one of these games. That's why I like the mentality of where this team is going right now, Scott.
No doubt. They have not let go of the rope at all this season. It's been impressive what they've been able to do. All right. When we come back, we're going to go around the league a little bit. It was a big night of the NBA last night. As we talked about, the Grizz came back from 29 down to pull off a huge win for them. And how about the Lakers blowing it the way they did last night? Anthony Davis, a couple of terrible defensive gaffes in that game that cost them big time against the Mavs. We'll get into that and a lot more. It's game night. Again, it's brought to you by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento. If you have a heart of service and you want to serve children who could really use a mentor in our great community, this could be the right cause for you. Lots of kids 7 to 18 being raised by single parents could use mentorship in our area. Give Big Brothers Big Sisters a call at 916-646-9300. Visit them at bbbs-sac.org to learn more about it. More of Game Night coming your way right here on Sactown Sports 1140.
All righty, we are live.
All right, what do we got, Kyle?
Well, I did want to filter in before we went too far. I got to go to the Princeton game on Thursday, so that was really cool. It's one of the top moments I've seen live.
What was and we had the broadcast here on Thursday, so lucky for you. What was the atmosphere like? Because Arizona was up in the second half, and it looked like Arizona was going to win the game.
This is the thing that I just haven't been able to get over. Princeton, a 15 seed, won a March Madness game against a 2 seed while shooting 16% from 3-point range.
Yeah, they were terrible. They only hit 1, right?
They were 4 for 25 on the game, and they hit 2 in the first half, 2 in the second half. Okay. And yeah, it was just not good for Princeton. But Arizona just couldn't score. It was like a lid was on the basket, and as it was going, it's about 60% filled in the crowd.
Yeah.
There's the Arizona section over by the bench.
And the Arizona section was way bigger than the Princeton section, I'm assuming.
I will say yes, but Princeton did travel well. They had a full section that filled out. And as it kept moving along, everyone started rooting for Princeton except for the Arizona. Of course,
everybody
group.
wants the underdog. And what's crazy about the tournament, the best part of the tournament is the upsets Farley Dickinson, and of course what Princeton's done. Everybody wants to see that in the first round. That's what makes March Madness truly mad. But when it gets towards the Final Four in the big games, everybody wants to see the big teams. Like, nobody would be excited if it's Farley Dickinson and Princeton in a Final Four matchup. They're going to be upset that it's not Purdue and Arizona, right? So, I don't know how you balance that, because I'm excited about the upsets too.
You know what? The upsets are cool, Scott. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like the NBA. Everybody wants to see that Milwaukee Golden State or Milwaukee Lakers.
Yep.
Nobody wants to see the two small markets play against each other.
Yep, that's so true. So true. All right, Kyle, what else?
Well, Eric in the chat brought up to my attention. I didn't realize this.
Yeah.
Porzingis is not going to play tonight for the Wizards, which I was not aware of.
Interesting. I've not seen the latest update on that. They're on a back-to-back tonight.
So according to the Wizards Twitter account, Porzingis is out with a non-COVID illness for tonight's game.
I would say that's a pretty good source. So, Eric, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. And, of course, we'll get a full update on the injuries in just a little bit. But that's a huge loss for the Wiz.
Big time. Big time, because that's part of I would say, okay, if you want to call it this, but they're big too. You know, you got Bradley Beal on the outside, and then you got their version of the Greek Freak on the inside, even though I know Porzingis is not from Greece, but I'm just talking about as far as being a unicorn out there on the floor, to be a big man that can stretch the floor the way he does and be able to get to the basket and score.
Yeah, no doubt. Porzingis, 23 points, 8.5 rebounds. And if we'll remember, when Washington came back here to play, they had just gotten fully healthy. That was a pretty good Washington team that came in and took it to the Kings.
Yeah, they did, Scooter. And I think the Kings are playing a different brand of ball now, but still some teams just happen to match up with other teams better. And for some reason, when Washington came in here, they just really took it to the Kings. I don't know if I think they had just started playing good basketball. Rory isn't there no more.
Nope.
But he gave it to, I think it was his first game back.
He was coming off from an injury.
Right. And he gave us the business. Porzingis played well. And then, Bradley Beal is Bradley Beal. This dude's an all-star.
Yep.
I mean, he can score with the best of them. So, yeah, they really gave it to the Kings when they came here.
They did. To your point, Hachimura came off the bench, had 21 points. Kyle Kuzma had a big night. He had 32. He will be playing tonight.
I like Kyle Kuzma, man.
Player.
I really do. For what he gives you
10 seconds.
at the 3 spot, Scott, and maybe even with some teams at the 4, I think he can be a very good piece.
I agree. Boy, this is uplifting music to bring us back in. Nothing fires me up more for Kings basketball than this. Kyle, our producer,
you know what?
He's smiling. He likes it.
Hey, Kyle is in a mood. Okay?
He is. Don't mess with him today.
He's setting the mood in there.
He is. He's his own DJ.
You guys like reggaeton at all? No?
It's not quite our style.
That's okay.
But, hey, you're running the show, so that's all good. Welcome back into game night right here. Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall along with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. Speaking of music last night was Bobby Jackson's 50th birthday party and celebration, and good time. And he got roasted pretty well, and it was just a lot of fun. So happy birthday, Bobby Jackson, turning 50.
You know what? B-Jack is one of the good ones, man. Good dude, loves the game of basketball. He loves the Sacramento Kings. He loves it here in Sacramento. So played his best basketball here. And like I said, love to be in the community, man. Overall, great guy. Salute you, B-Jack. Happy birthday, baby.
No doubt. That is well said. He's all about love, and he treats everybody so well. That's the thing that comes across. He is class through and through.
He's a down-to-earth guy.
He is.
He really is down-to-earth, man. And, if you know Bobby Jackson, he's been that way for as long as we can remember. Yeah. And he only comes at you one way. He's a very humble dude, and he understands that basketball was a blessing for him.
Yeah. And,
and basketball has taken him to places that he probably normally wouldn't go if he didn't play the game. So he really respects the game.
Absolutely true. And he's going to let you know what's on his mind.
Oh, yeah. He's going to definitely get you 100.
There's not going to be any mystery about what Bobby Jackson thinks.
That's what I love about Baba Lee.
Of course, he's doing a great job with the Stockton Kings. They play tomorrow at Golden One Center.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool. So that'll be good stuff. Get on out there for that. Dave Deuce Mason, Morgan Reagan, they do an outstanding job calling those games as well. So a lot of fun with the Stockton Kings. As we look around the league here, last night was a big deal. Lots of games that had playoff implications. We mentioned Memphis surviving a 29-point deficit in San Antonio, coming back and winning that one. The big story last night in the NBA was the Lakers. It looked like they were going to get a sure win last night, up late at home against the Mavs, and then two kind of baffling decisions by Anthony Davis. One, he fouled Kleba on a 3-point shot. Kleba hits all three to get them back within a couple of points. And then at the game's final play, Kyrie Irving, and you can't blame the Lakers, they're double, triple teaming him up to trying to get the ball out of his hands.
Right.
Anthony Davis slides down low, should have been on the nail, which is the free throw line. Basically, it allows Irving to make a cross-court pass to Kleba, who hits a three with 0.3 on the clock. Mavs go out of crypto.com, winners 111-110.
Wow. And where was LeBron when all this was going on? That's what I want.
LeBron was decked out last night. I don't know. He had his full black suit on, everything else. He was looking great, but he was watching from the sideline.
That's the one thing with the Lakers that, really puzzles me. And I wish I had a crystal ball, Scott, so I can, really know. But at the end of the day, how engaged is LeBron going to be when they need to make a push, or if they're even going to try to make a push?
Well, and to the point in the standings, so that the Mavericks went from being one game under 500 to one game above it. They're technically in a play-off position. They're in sixth. They're tied with the Warriors, but they have the tiebreaker. They also now own the tiebreaker against the Lakers, who fell to 34 and 37. So if the Lakers had won that game, Mavs and Lakers would have been tied in the standings. The Lakers would have had the tiebreaker on the Mavs. So that was a huge game.
Right.
The Lakers stand in 10th place, so they're technically in the play-in, but they're only percentage points ahead of the Jazz. Of course, the Kings will finish up the road trip on Monday in Salt Lake, and they're going to have the Jazz here again the following Saturday. So a couple of big games versus the Jazz, but that was a big time turnaround in that game. And that's a game that the Lakers let go. Yeah.
And, and they really, really need that. But like I say though, Scott, I'm really wondering how, just in tune is LeBron going to be if and when he comes back.
And that's the major question. And of course, talking about AD, he told his team flat out, he said, I came in, told them the last play, my fault. And if you look at the video and you break down tape, like they always tell you, if you're on the weak side, you've got to be at the free throw line. You can't double team down low because that cross court pass is a lot easier to make. And Irving, to his credit, made a great pass. And Kleba, to his credit, hit a big time shot.
And if you're AD, you're long, you're lean, you cannot let that pass be that direct. If it is a pass, it has to be a looping pass, Scott, to where someone else can recover.
Exactly. It takes time off the clock, everything else.
Exactly.
No doubt about it. Timberwolves last night, too. The Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, got hurt. Awkwardly landed on his right leg, calling it an ankle injury. Who knows? He was helped off the court. Don't have a lot more on his status, but obviously if the T-Wolves don't have Anthony Edwards, they're currently in the 8th spot at 35 and 36. I don't see them realistically hanging on for 11 games without Anthony Edwards if this is a big time injury.
Going to be hard. You talk about health in the NBA. Some teams, if they lose one guy, it's devastating.
Yep.
So like if Dallas loses Luka, it's devastating. Even though they have a Kyrie Irving that they can lean on heavily, it's still devastating for them. So when Minnesota, who was starting to play pretty good basketball, you lose an Ant-Man, it's devastating because Cat still hasn't been nowhere seen.
No.
Besides on the sideline.
And again, all we know from the medical staff is that he'll be reevaluated. So we know what that means. That's the kiss of death. The kiss of death. And Edwards did come back to the bench, but he had a boot on his foot, which is never a good sign either.
No, it's not.
Who knows? Who knows on that one? So obviously some things shaking up in the Western Conference. In terms of Eastern Conference side, Jalen Brunson came back from that foot injury we saw. He tried to play in Sacramento, had to leave the game. He scored 24. Knicks win. But maybe the biggest news of all, Michael Jordan ready to sell his stake in the Hornets and become not the majority owner any longer.
So
he's just so tired of watching that Charlotte team?
Wait, so what's that saying is that he's not going to sell his whole portion.
Correct. Right.
He's just going to sell a part of it.
Correct. So instead of being the governor, the person who's making the decisions, the majority shareholder, he wants to become a minority holder and sell. And there's a couple of people in place. There's a minority owner, Gabe Plotkin, Atlanta Hawks minority owner Rick Schnall are making a bid for this.
That's my question to you, Scott.
Yeah.
The guy that's coming from the Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would he have to relinquish whatever he has with the Hawks to move on to Charlotte?
Absolutely. It's just like Vivek was a minority owner of
Golden State,
Golden State before becoming majority owner here in Sacramento. And of course, he had to give up that piece of it. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It says no deal is imminent, but there's significant momentum on a sale that could end up that way. And, Michael Jordan, obviously, maybe the greatest player ever to play, one of the best. We know that, of course, but the owners, I know he's the GOAT in your mind. I get that. I understand. We're not going down that trail.
I'm saying, watch your tone and your delivery when you say maybe.
I get it. I get it.
All right.
I was being, yes.
Keep on going.
Not on board enough. I understand that. But his ownership of this team, I mean, the Hornets haven't had a lot of success.
Scott, I think it's a situation with Mike because let's keep it real for all you people who think that Michael Jordan might be going broke. Let's just put this out there.
That ain't happening.
That's not the case.
No, those Nike checks are coming in.
As long as Nike checks are coming in, and we're not even talking about Gatorade, Wheaties, Hanes, and everything else that he owns.
No doubt.
But I think Michael's at a point now to where he's like, I've done all I can. Let's see if somebody else will come in here and do a better job.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. He bought the majority ownership stake in the Hornets 13 years ago.
Right.
He paid $275 million
from Bob Johnson.
Yep. So what's that going to be worth now?
It got to be at least $2 billion.
It's got to be in it. We're not talking M's anymore. We're talking B's.
Yes, it would have to be at least $2 billion.
I would think
because the Kings are at $2 billion now, aren't they?
I'd have to look it up, but I think certainly at 2, maybe getting closer to 3.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Small market teams in the NBA are at least in the at $2 billion right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because they will be a small market team just like us.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right.
For sure. And Charlotte's got maybe more of a corporate base than Sacramento, but Sacramento's a slightly bigger TV market. I mean, you could. Yes, but basically the same.
It's apples and apples.
Totally. All right. That's our look around the league. When we come back, we're going to look at the game today. Kings have a chance to go 3-0 on the road trip, make it a winning road trip, continue rolling, and they could secure a winning season on the road as well as they get ready to take on the Wizards. We'll get to that when we come back, that in the On the Floor report as well. It's game night right here, Sactown Sports 1140.
All righty, we are live on YouTube.
What do we got?
Well, I wanted to bring up something that you guys mentioned earlier. It got a little traction in the comment section. So you were talking about Fox and Sabonis being all-NBA players this year.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So doing the quick math in my head, Sabonis easily going to make it, no question. Might be a second teamer this year.
Okay, if Sabonis is easily going to make it, why would Fox not easily make it?
Well, so there's only about 6 to 7 guard spots in the entire league. So
terrible.
Okay, list who those 6 would be over.
So here's who are the ones in my mind are pretty much set in stone.
Let's hear it.
So Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Ja Morant, Donovan Mitchell.
No, I disagree with you. DeAaron Fox is going to get it over Ja Morant at this point based on everything's going on. It's not even close. Not even close.
Interesting.
Even if Ja Morant were back, I mean, how could you put Morant over Fox with what he's done? He's the leading scorer in the fourth quarter. He's Mr. Clutch. I mean, you can't have the most valuable player in the final quarter of the game not on an all-league team over some of these guys.
So
cannot happen.
Donovan Mitchell, who else?
So the next group for the third team, this is the group where Fox, I think, would be mixed in with.
Ja Morant will not be second team.
Okay. So the group that's left is Kyrie, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, Damian Lillard, and Fox. That's the group competing for 2, and if you don't believe in Ja Morant, potentially 3 spots.
Yeah, well, I even think, I mean, there's a case to be made that DeAaron Fox is ahead of Steph Curry.
I would say DeAaron Fox is probably, out of those you named, DeAaron Fox is going to be in front of D. Lillard just because of the record. Who was the other ones you named off?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I think he's going to be in front of Shai because of the record.
Then you have Kyrie.
I think he's going to be in front of Kyrie because of the record.
And Devin Booker.
DB might beat him out.
Well, there's 2 spots, so there you go.
But that's what I'm saying. You know, you have to understand this too. It's also a popularity vote. And I think that's why Scott is leaning heavy off of Shai's not going to make it. You know, Shai is not going to make it just because of what's surrounding him right now. You know, there's no way he's going to be on All-NBA with everything that he's got going. The only way he will make an All-NBA team, he better come back to that Grizzlies team, and that Grizzlies team better go all the way to the finals. If it's anything short
you're talking
than that,
Morant. I thought you said Shai Gilgeous.
No.
I'm
I'm talking about Ja Morant.
Got it. Okay.
If there's anything less than that,
We got 15 seconds.
DeAaron will beat out Ja Morant.
I agree with you 100%. I totally agree with that. We don't even know when Ja's coming back. He's eligible to come back on Monday, but that doesn't mean he is.
You know what I'm saying? Even if he comes back,
I agree with
if
you.
they don't go all the way to the finals and he has to be in MVP contention, that's the only thing that's going to push him in front of DeAaron.
Welcome back into game night right here. Sactown Sports 1140, wrapping things up with the high flyer. I'm Scott Marsh. Kings and Wizards. Some interesting discussion in the chat on our YouTube site at Sactown Sports 1140 about who would be the guards on the All-NBA team. And I just, you know, I say if Sabonis is all league, which he is, Fox is also.
True. But you know, the problem is, Scott, the problem is that they're still going by positions.
Yeah.
Not just the best players,
Right.
but by positions again.
It makes it harder for Fox than Sabonis.
And that's where the all-star team thing got all mucked up also.
Sure.
Is because they're going by positions. I'm with you. If Sabonis is such a lock-in on an all-NBA team, why is DeAaron that far away? Both of those guys have done equally as good of a job for this basketball team.
No doubt. I think they're both going to make it. So, but that's a discussion we'll continue to have as we round out the end of the season here. It's time to get to the Who's on the Floor report as we look at who's going to be available for this game tonight. It's brought to you by Gold River Floors. They're employee-owned, 3 locations to serve you. Sacramento Flooring off Power Inn Road in Sacramento, Gold River Carpet 1 off Highway 50 in Rancho Cordova, and Gold River Flooring America off East Bidwell in Folsom. As we told you earlier in the broadcast, the Kings are going to be a little light. Kevin Huerter, who is listed as day-to-day, after suffering that injury on Thursday, that muscle behind the knee, will not play today. Trey Lyles, a sore shoulder, isn't going to play as well today for Sacramento. And then Richaun Holmes will be back. We'll see if he gets any run today after being out a couple of games with a non-COVID illness. The big one for the Wizards today, no Kristaps Porzingis. He has a non-COVID illness, and he will not be available for the Wizards today.
Now, that shoulder that Trey Lyles has is bothering him. Is that the exact same one that he was choking the Lopez kid out with?
That I don't know. I need to find out a little more information on that.
Because it seems like it was very strong that evening. He had a lot of scrimp in that shoulder when he was choking out the big fella.
You know, that would take a lot of, muscle to do that.
Hey,
hopefully that's not the strength.
I'm going to tell you what, to hold it down like that against a guy like Brook Lopez.
Oh, no, you've got to have that hand fully stretched out, man. You're maxing out.
And your mind has to be set on doing something extremely dangerous right there, because Lopez is a big boy.
Oh, for sure.
And you definitely don't want to run up on him. You definitely don't want to run up on him in a dark alley.
No. It's one tough customer. Yeah, Trey Lyles showing he's one tough customer.
Hey, you know what? I'm not bagging down, and I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's break this down a little bit here. Kings and Wizards, as we said last time out, Washington had their way with the Kings. It was one of their worst efforts of the year. We got to be honest about it. It was right before Christmas.
Right.
And the Kings laid an egg that night. I mean, they weren't competitive. They were down big. They never made a run to get back in that game. Obviously, the Wizards mix is different. We said Roy Hachimura was big in that game. He had 21 points, obviously, with the Lakers now. Porzingis had just come back from injury. He played 34 minutes in the game. He wasn't a huge impact, but he did have 13 rebounds, just 7 points. So obviously it's a different look for Washington.
Right. He played well, though. Played well. But now, you're going to be able to minus out some of those guys that played well for Washington. But I think more so, you got to be able to add how well the Kings are playing as a team now. Yeah. Total different look for a basketball club.
No doubt. You want to know what the record of the Kings was after that loss back on December 23rd?
Give it to me.
They were 17-14.
Okay.
So they've gone 25 and 13. Yeah, that's the math on that.
Playing a hell of a lot better brand of basketball.
No doubt. It's amazing what they've been able to rattle off.
And it's got more so, not just a better brand of basketball, but understanding and trusting who they are as a basketball team.
Yeah, they're growing every day. As for the Wizards, I mean, certainly they're still within play-in possibilities at 32 and 38. They're not playing very good basketball at the moment. They're tied with the Pacers. Is this a season where they're looking for a play-in, or are they looking for extra chips for Wembanyama?
Right now, you would always look at a situation when a once-in-a-lifetime player is at your grasp. I don't know in which direction they want to go, but, you couldn't be upset at either way, okay? If they want to make the play-in, it's there. But if you want to make a run at the Wembanyama sweepstakes, you wouldn't get mad at any team that want to position themselves for that.
Yeah, for sure. Porzingis last night had 20 points. He played, as we said, the Wizards are on a back-to-back. They were in Cleveland last night. They lost. The Wizards, as we talked about, it's been rough sledding for them. They've lost 6 of their last 8. But again, they've got Bradley Beal, who is always one of the best guards in the league. Kyle Kuzma played last night, but he didn't play the game before that, had right knee soreness. So we'll see about his availability. Of course, he was huge against Sacramento. He had 32 last time out. So it'll be interesting to see all the matchups on the floor.
Right. Kyle Kuzma probably steps up as far as public enemy number 2. Bradley Beal will always be the head of their snake, but Kyle Kuzma is the guy that you really want to pay some attention to because he can get some damage done. And I think with the unicorn being out, I think the Sacramento Kings can try to take advantage of the Wizards down low. Throw the ball into Sabonis more and often and see what he can get done down there.
No doubt. I mean, as we said, the Kings had a great chance on this road trip to go 4-0. And but as we've updated, it doesn't even matter who they're playing on the road now. I mean, we sit there and say, those are 4 winnable games. You know what? Bottom line, every game is a winnable game for the Sacramento Kings.
Every game is a winnable game, Scott. And, their situation, it doesn't matter who they're playing. It's just about winning a game. They don't want to go on a slide. They don't want to go on a skid. So it could be Washington. It could be Utah. It could be Folsom Middle School. Yep. They don't want to go on a skid.
Yep. Chance to go 3-0 on the trip and get a winning record on the road this year. And the one thing we'll look out for with Kyle Kuzma, we'll want to see what that pregame walk-in is and what outfit he's got on today.
You want to check out his drip, huh?
I do. I know Kyle does. Kyle, it is UCLA. Gary, he probably smiled at Jason Ross, who's here, ready for Kings Live pregame. That's going to do it for game night. As always, High Flyer, great to work with you. Have a great call tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right, it's the Kings and the Wizards. Jason Ross, who will be rooting for the Bruins heavily throughout this Kings broadcast, will come in here. He's got you covered for the next half hour for Kings Live pregame. Tip tonight, 5 o'clock in the nation's capital. Kings looking to extend the winning streak on the road to 7 games. They've got a 6-game road win streak. Can they do it? You'll find out. Keep it tuned all evening long. Sacramento Kings basketball right here on Sactown Sports 1140.
All righty. Thanks, YouTube people. Also, Scott, now you're off the air. Okay. You nailed it within 1 second of the time that we were out. So great job.
You give me a time, I'm going to nail it.
Professional broadcaster.
Jason's going to come in here and let me know about it. And I don't need that. Nobody needs that. Kyle.
Absolutely. And yes, I'm also someone who just like I love my reggaeton, I love Kyle Kuzma's silly outfits.
I can't wait to see what he's wearing today.
Yeah, I grew up in Southern California with the baby.
It's kind of like when Jason walks in here, everybody wants to know what Jason's got on for Kings Live pregame. It's a similar walk-in.
It's a similar walk-in through the door right now. I wonder if we're going to have the YouTube on long enough for people to see it.
I don't know. We should. All right, Kyle, have a great afternoon, buddy.
All righty.
Thank
you, Scott. And thank you all the YouTube people who are tuning in. Let's go Kings, light the beam, all that good stuff.